ku iterambere. Buri mwana w'umunyarwanda agomba kwiga. Ubumenyi inzira y'iterambere. Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM. Buri wese abigize ibye twatsinda burundu akarengane na ruswa. U Rwanda ruzira ruswa n'akarengane mu cyerekezo 2050. Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM. Gusesagura n'ubupfapfa. Zirikana ko iyo mbimenya ari ijambo ribi maze ukoreshe neza imari yawe. Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM. Munyarwanda, isuku ni isoko y'ubuzima. Zirikana ko isuku kubagize umuryango wawe ari inshingano zawe. Isuku kuri buri munyarwanda, igihugu kizira indwara. Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM.
We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
For tuning in. This is Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM, broadcasting from Kigali. Here are the news in English, brought to you by Alvin Umngari and Imanzi Pants. The headlines. The Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations, Felix Namuhoranye, calls on peacekeepers to maintain high standards through their tour. The insurance agency is optimistic about the potential opportunities in Africa. France and Germany have released 600 million euros to support the energy transition in South Africa. Kenya is to enter South Africa visa-free from January 2023. We'll be back with more details. The Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations, Felix Namuhoranye, calls on peacekeepers to maintain high standards through their tour of duty. The Deputy Police Chief was addressing the peacekeeping contingent to be deployed in Bangassou, about 725 kilometers southeast of the capital Bangui in Central Africa. The contingent made of 180 officers of the MINUSCA Rwanda will be deployed this Wednesday, November 9th. During the pre-deployment meeting at the Rwanda National Police General Headquarters in Kachiru, DIGP Namuhoranye added that those were deployed before have set high standards and the image should be sustained. He encouraged them to keep a positive attitude during their tour of duty and to address their issues and difficulties via the established chain of command. He continued saying that the Rwandan flag in peacekeeping was raised high and it can only be raised higher, and that goes with respect, team spirit, supporting each other, doing what you were trained and deployed to do, being where you are required to be in the right time. This will be the fourth Rwandan police contingent to be deployed in CAR, the RA FPU-1 and Rwanda Protection Support Unit, PSU, of 140 each are operating in Bangui. Another contingent, Rwanda Formed Police Unit 2, FPU-2, is deployed in Kaga, Bandaro, more than 300 kilometers out of the capital. Rwanda and Barbados have signed a bilateral air service agreement that will lead to both countries opening skies for each other's commercial airlines, and Prince has more details.
This agreement was signed today in Kigali between Rwanda's Minister of Infrastructure, Ernest Nsabimana, and Babajan Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Kairi Simons. The two countries needed to strengthen cooperation in the aviation industry, trade and hospitality between both countries. According to analysts, currently there has been strong demand for an air link between Africa and the Caribbean. Therefore, the agreement is likely to quickly materialize. Passengers from Africa traveling to the Caribbean needed to first obtain a transit visa through North Atlantic countries, and the need for an air link between both regions was a major topic recently discussed during the first ever Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum held in Bridgeton, Barbados. The bilateral air service agreement comes to a time when Rwanda and Barbados have shown interest in finding ways to deepening their relationship. As the agreement was signed, the Minister of State in charge of the East African Community and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs also received copies of credence of William Alexander MacDonald, High Commissioner designated of Barbados to Rwanda with residence in Nairobi.
Thank you. Thank you, Prince. The Global Insurance Agency is optimistic about the potential opportunities in Africa. With its greener investment potential, Sub-Saharan Africa has traditionally been a significant location for export credit insurance support. According to Michael Ron, the outgoing president of Bernay Union, an organization that represents the global export credit and investment insurance sector, at the Bern Union annual general meeting, Ron was speaking, and he said African Trade Insurance will be hosting from November 7th to November 10th in Kigali. More than 77 financial institutions came together to talk about how to transition Africa's energy industry, the role of international finance and investment in the context of debt, sustainability, and the possibility for increased intra-regional trade and integration into global value chains. Members of the Bern Union made fresh promises of $44 billion in the first half of 2022 to assist trade and cross-border investment in sub-Saharan African nations. However, within the same time frame, the region and political risk insurance coverage worth $3.9 billion, the greatest amount since 2017, and that's an indication that investors are becoming more risk-averse at the same time. It is getting harder to obtain long-term financing in the area. The operationalization of the African Continent Free Trade Area, known as ATI, and Bernay Union, according to Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Uziel Ndajimana, would play a major role in fostering intra-African trade and continue to expand trade flows between Africa and the world. However, the minister said that Rwanda has benefited from increased trade flows as a result of access to investment, credit, and risk solution provided by the ATI. According to Manuel Moses, the CEO of ATI, the African insurer has handled more than $140 million in transaction in different projects, and there are more than $100 million in the pipeline. The target is to raise the private sector, especially SMEs, capacity in accessing financial in terms of providing insurance and attracting investments. Areas of partnership include hydropower plant construction, supply of different public and private equipment, exports, among others. An increasing call for health insurance to cover walking sticks. Prince Imanzi has more details on that.
The Rwanda Union of the Blind has for years appealed to the government to include the walking sticks among services covered by the health insurance. About 57,000 people have visual impairment in Rwanda, but less than 10% use walking sticks. Rwanda Union of the Blind has donated about 2,000 white canes. An unknown number of other sticks have been donated by different organizations. While a smaller number of visually impaired people bought them, one white cane cost about 20,000 Rwandan francs, a price that Rwanda Union of Blind says is unaffordable to most people with visual impairment. Donatille Kanimba, Executive Director of Rwanda Union of the Blind, says the white cane should be covered by health insurance like any other therapies. That would make a very huge difference of those with visual impairment could pay 10% of the price. Kanimba said, adding, white canes to the list of protected services will enhance supply given to current shortage in the country. The fact that even the modest ones are still out of reach for the thousands who require them limits efforts to obtain locally made smart white canes. White cans should be included in medical services, according to Kanemba, who also said making them accessible would raise awareness of their benefits.
Thank you, Pans. The military medical insurance, MMI, is going to be transformed into a specialized entity with the required autonomy. The military medical insurance, known as MMI, is set to become a specialized organ with the necessary autonomy in terms of recruiting and managing its staff and determining the procurement rules for better health service delivery under new law. The statute creating the organ of military medical insurance, which was approved by the plenary sitting of the Chamber of Deputies in November 8th, is responsible for the development. The changes that MMI wanted and were included in the law, according to Member of Parliament Emmanuel Wijingo, Chair of the Committee of Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and Security of the Chambers of Deputies, include that it seeks to make investments so that its ventures generate profit, which enables the insured members to receive better and more reasonably priced medical care. Major General Albert Murasira, the Minister of Defense, stated that all Rwandans, even civilians, are permitted to join MMI, but that they must meet the contribution barrier, which is where the difficulty lies since some cannot afford it, when he presented the bill's significance to members of the Parliament on June 6th. According to the minister, contributions to MMI are now based on members' gross wage, with the staff member contributing 3% and the government contributing the remaining 17.5%, for a total of 20.5% of the gross salary. In addition to its mission of managing medical insurance for those beneficiaries, MMI also has the mission of investing funds in order to guarantee the financial stability and sustainability of activities under its responsibilities. Considering the importance of complexity of MMI business and the increasing pace of its activities, Murasire indicated that MMI needs much more flexibility in terms of decision-making and day-to-day operations management by entrusting its board of directors and its management with the necessary powers to respond more quickly to the institution's growing operational challenges. We'll be back with economic news.
Economic News is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
The market overview. Today, the trading session recorded a total turnover of 125,413,000 worth of bonds traded in 3 deals on the fixed income market, while the equities market remained quiet. Equities counters closed as follow: Bralirwa at 170 Rwandan francs, Bank of Kigali at 272 Rwandan francs, I&M Rwanda at 43 Rwandan francs, Simerwa at 120 Rwandan francs, MTN Rwanda at 174 Rwandan francs, Equity at 440 Rwandan francs, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Uchumi Supermarket Limited at 104 Rwandan francs, and R&H Buffalo at 526 Rwandan francs. France continues with the stock exchange rate.
Exchange rate as of today, 9th November 2022, US dollars selling price was 1,041 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,062 Rwandan francs. Euros 1,000, buying price was 1,048 Rwandan francs, selling price was 1,069 Rwandan francs. British pound buying price was 1,201 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,225 Rwandan francs. Kenyan shillings buying price was 8.5 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 8.7 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shillings buying price was 0.44 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.45 Rwandan francs. Ugandan shilling, the buying price was 0.27 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.28 Rwandan francs. Burundian shilling, the buying price was 0.50 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.51 Rwandan francs.
We'll be back with international news.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
French investigators are expected soon in Tanzania to investigate the cause of precision airplane crash that happened on Sunday. Prince Imanzi has more details.
French air accident investigators are soon expected in Bukoba, Tanzania, to take part in an investigation into the cause of the precision airplane crash that happened on Sunday. The plane dived into Lake Victoria during storms and heavy rain, and it led to the death of 19 passengers, including a Rwandan. A senior official from France Bureau of Inquiry and Analysis for Civil Aviation Safety, Air Accident Investigation Agency, was quoted saying that it was sending a team to Tanzania along with technical advisors from Franco-Italian plane maker ATR that this same plane belonged to. Tanzanian Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa said investigators have started checking into what had happened, and experts say that the investigations could take months. The plane was designed in France, and as per international laws, the French are obliged to be part of the investigations into what led to the accident.
France and Germany have released 600 million euros to support the energy transition in South Africa. As part of an investment plan for a total of $98 billion that was accepted at COP27 in Egypt, France and Germany have released 600 million euros to support the energy transition in South Africa. After signing loan agreements between South Africa and the two European nations to provide 300 million euros each in concessional financing to South Africa, the goal was to support country's efforts to reduce its dependency on coal. A foundational element of the South African economy that employs close to 100,000 people provides 80% of the country's electricity. By the year 2030, several power plants will be shut down. With its outdated infrastructure, the indebted state-owned company Eskom is unable to provide enough electricity and is therefore enforcing ongoing power cuts. A $98 billion investment plan for the energy transition of Africa's leading industrial power was approved earlier this week at the UN Climate Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, which opened on Sunday following an agreement in principle reached last year at the COP26 in Glasgow. France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the United States, and the European Union had pledged the support of $8.5 billion with the ambition of making South Africa an example of cooperation in the fight against emissions in developing countries. Floods in Central African Republic leaves fishermen stranded. Prince Imanzi has more details on the news.
Pokome Kayoke paddles his dugout canoe over the peaceful, foggy waters of the river Ubangi as dawn is just beginning to break above Bangui, the capital of the Central African Republic. During the rainy season, the Great Congo's tributary frequently floods, but this year the water levels have been disastrous for the country at the center of Africa. Since 2013, seemingly never-ending civil wars have raged, and the Central African Republic is currently ranked as the second last developed nation in the world by the UN. Natural catastrophes simply make the situation worse.
Kenyans to enter South Africa visa-free from January 2023. The presidents of South Africa and Kenya say today they have resolved a long-standing visa dispute, and Kenyans will be able to visit South Africa visa-free for up to 90 days in a calendar year. The new agreement is set to take effect on January 1st, 2023. South Africans already gave free visas on arrival in Kenya, while Kenyans were charged and required to provide proof of sufficient funds and return flight tickets. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said he was in Kenya on his first official trip to the country. He and the Kenyan President, William Ruto, praised the Ethiopia peace agreement signed last week in South Africa and brokered by the African Union. They appealed to the parties to ensure full implementation of the agreement to reach a lasting political settlement. The Kenyan and South African leaders also directed their trade ministers to address barriers that limit trade between the two countries. Moreover, the two nations are among the strongest economies on the African continent.
The last apartheid president of South Africa, Frederick William de Klerk, has his Nobel Peace Prize medal stolen from his residence in Cape Town 6 months prior, according to a statement released by his foundation today. He shared the award in 1993 with Nelson Mandela, a symbol of the anti-apartheid movement, for their contributions to bringing democracy to South Africa. During a break-in in April, the 18-carat medal made of recycled gold was taken from his house. According to Brenda Stein, the foundation's legacy manager said that she can confirm that de Klerk's Nobel Peace Prize was taken from Frederick's home earlier this year.
A South African court convicted a man of more than 90 rapes, some of which involved children of 9 years. The Palm Ridge Court near Johannesburg convicted Mosinati Pakathi by the age of 38, who targeted schoolgirls and also forced children to watch him commit rape for 9 years between 2012 and 2021. Lumka Mahanjana, spokesperson of the National Prosecution Authority, NPA, detailed in a statement saying he would prey on his victims while they were going to or returning from school or work. In the morning or evening, he will prey on some of them in their own homes. She added that he pretended to be an electrician who came to repair a water heater or other household appliances and raped them. In some cases, when he raped several people at once, he forced other person to watch. He was arrested in March last year after attempting to return to the home of one of his victims. Prosecutors said police shot him in the leg, which has since been amputated. He is scheduled to be served with his sentence in early December, and South Africa has been rocked recently by a series of horrific crimes, including the gang rape of 8 women in July and the discovery of half a dozen women's bodies in central Johannesburg building last month. With that, we come to the end of the program. Let us backtrack to the headlines again.